Okay, and welcome back. Talking with David Livingstone about his masterpiece, Terrorism and the Illuminati. Chapter 6, The Ashkenazi.
Right.
This is the Khazars and the Ashkenazi. This is an area of great interest and yet great confusion among people.
That's right. Right.
The Khazars, we know, adopted Judaism in, I guess, the 8th or 9th century. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's right about there.
And picked it up and ran with it, as they say.
Yeah.
And they've been running with it ever since. So tell us more about the Ashkenazi.
Well, it all goes back to the concept of the lost tribes. And, I'd heard for some time about the idea of British Israelism and the concept that the British people are descended from the lost tribes. And for a long time, I dismissed the idea. But then, with my recent research, I'm realizing that something is there, something is up. Because our modern idea is that the lost tribes disappeared and nobody knows where they are. But the truth is that their proximate location has been known for a long time. And if you go back to the ancient historians like Josephus and people like that, they actually locate them. And where they were supposed to have migrated was first to Armenia, and then beyond Armenia across the Caucasus into southern Russia and Central Asia. So this place in southern Russia is what was called at the time Scythia. And what you find out in this, what I've been seeing in this history, is that Scythia comes up time and time again. Because where was Odin come from? Where did Odin come from? The Odin, the progenitor, the ancestor of the Scandinavians and Saxons. Mm-hmm. If you look at the Norse sagas of I believe it's the 13th century, they claim that he came from Scythia. It's very clear.
Really?
Yes. And again, the Scots also claim to come from Scythia. There's also, of course, contending groups in Britain. There was the Picts. The Picts supposedly came from Armenia. This is all recounted in the chronicles of the Middle Ages. Uh-huh. And Robert the Bruce himself claimed that the Scottish people, his ancestors, came from Scythia.
What about the Irish?
The Irish, pretty much the same thing. It's all intertwined.
I see.
And this gets us into the history of Scottish Rite Freemasonry, but we can get to that later. So, the people of Scythia, it was called Scythia basically in antiquity. But after several hundreds of years, they were a Turkic people who then converted to Judaism, and then they were known as Khazars. So again, these people from this region of the world, again, figure in this history. So there's a lot of controversy around this subject because Arthur Koestler wrote the book 13th Tribe, which probably most people have heard of, which gives the suggestion that most European Jews are Khazars and therefore not really descended from Israelites. And I think that just complicates the situation. It's not really quite true. There's been enough genetic studies done now that are proving that in large part, European Jews are descended from Israelites, but there is a significant component there. They are very much intermarried with Europeans. And one thing that they found in studying the Levites is that there seems to have been a genetic component entered into the Levite bloodline, which must have come from the Khazars. And so why this is important is because it all hinges around the Crusades. And just before the Crusades, you have this intermarriage because what happens is the Khazars, their empire basically collapses, and they move into other parts of Eastern Europe, and primarily they become the ruling families of Hungary, of Poland, and of Bulgaria. And so all of a sudden, in the 11th century, you have this intermarriage now between these families and the ones of France and England. And the ruling families of France, this is a much more popular subject because it's been treated in books like the Da Vinci Code and Holy Blood, Holy Grail. They are supposedly descended from Merovingians, Carolingians, and they are, supposedly descended from Jesus and things like that. But what happens is that these Eastern European families who are descended from the Khazars all of a sudden start to intermarry with these Merovingian families in France and England.
Okay.
And this seems to really all of a sudden ignite something very important at the period that really begins this history.
Well, it's all amazing. And where would you trace today's Rothschild Russian Jewish power center back to? How would you quantify that in terms of, can you look to a single point of origin, or is it
Russian? The Russian, did you say?
Well, we have a lot of Russian Jews who emigrated to America and Europe at the turn of the last century.
Yeah.
They are allegedly Khazars. And we look at the Rothschild family, where they came from, I'm not sure, but you probably have a better clue about all this and their origins. I'm just inquiring and concerned about their origins.
I would presume that they're Jewish, maybe they.
But not Semitic Jews.
I would say Semitic.
From the Middle East, directly from the Holy Land.
Absolutely. But they have significant marriage, and they probably have some Khazar components as well. And
I see.
But the Khazars themselves claim to be descendants of the lost tribes, particularly from Simeon.
They do claim that, yes.
Right. So, and that's the thing, is that
it's a mixed bag.
Absolutely. And, the important thing to remember is that the Jewish people penetrated Europe from a very early point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they've been around.
We're talking about right back to the first century.
That's right.
AD, that the Jews had prominent communities, and probably further back, because you can trace Phoenician settlements all over, southern France and the coast of Portugal and Spain, and all the way up into Britain.
If we can trust history as it's written now, we have that problem too. But yes, I agree with you. Stand by, David. We'll pause and continue in just a couple minutes.